thank you, all of you, for coming here on a Saturday. It's so hugely appreciated. It's great also to see some familiar faces, which is just absolutely wonderful. I really, really appreciate this. And also to meet new friends as well, and how appropriate that we are here in Friend's house. So this is really, really fantastic for me to be here. Before I actually show some slides, I thought actually it would be nice to tell you a little bit about me and the why I'm actually doing what I'm doing and how this kind of came about. Because in a way, I'm doing something quite unusual. I'm a lawyer who loves the earth. And that's not something as lawyers normally admit to. You know, normally when lawyers stand up to talk, they talk about the evidence, they talk about the facts, they talk about the rational. That's all here. They don't normally talk about what's here. Now, I think that needs to change a little bit. And actually for me, something very profound happened 7 years ago. I was in court. I was representing a man who was fighting a case that had been going on for 3 years. We were in the Court of Appeal in the Royal Courts of Justice in London, and I was his barrister representing him. It was the very last day of the court case, and he'd been fighting a case. I was his mouthpiece for the case as his barrister, against really being badly treated in the workplace. And he suffered psychological injury and harm. And I looked out of the window, huge window in the Court of Appeal, and I looked out and I thought, you know, the earth is suffering enormous harm and injury as well, and nothing's been done about it. And my next thought changed my life. I thought, you know, the earth is in need of a good lawyer. One thought took me on a journey of exploration. It wouldn't leave me. And the thing was, I hadn't come from an environmental law background. My background was corporate law, employment law. I was representing big companies where there were good people in them who were, by dint of their company activity, causing an enormous amount of damage and destruction to the environment. And I couldn't quite square that. And so it got me thinking, you know, what if I was to represent the earth in court? What would happen if I did that? And of course I'm a barrister, so what are the tools that I need to do that? And obviously the tools that I need are law. But the problem is that our existing law isn't working. I mean, you just have to look at the Amazon to know that. In fact, the Athabasca tar sands to know that existing environmental law isn't working. And this got me thinking about what if the earth had rights too? Just as I have the human right to life, surely the earth out there has the right to life as well. Now, the definition I've given here is not a listing of ecocides. It's wider than that. It's the extensive destruction and damage to or loss of ecosystems. Now I want to unpackage this a little bit. What's that? Well, that's mass damage, basically, on a mass scale. And I'll break that down a bit later. Of a given territory, 2 different types of ecocide, whether by human agency or by other causes. And I'll break that down as well. To such an extent that peaceful enjoyment, now peaceful enjoyment, that's a term that's very well known in law, by the inhabitants of that territory has been severely diminished. That word inhabitants is possibly the most important word in all of this. It's not human beings, it's not people, because it's not just humans that live in a given territory. This is about people and planet. This isn't just environmental law. This is holistic law, if you like. This is earth law, and we're all part of the earth. Peaceful enjoyment is actually a term that is used many jurisdictions right across the world. And this is something that actually goes back into, certainly within the context of British law, back into the 16th century, when we're looking at civil wrongs, where actually a legal responsibility has been breached in some manner or way, and that the person who is the owner of the land, or has title of the land, has a responsibility to those who are there. So if there's mass damage and destruction that happens here and it flows downstream and it causes an infringement on your peaceful enjoyment downstream, then that person has a legal responsibility to do something about that. So I'm taking something that's very well known, very well established in law, and actually I'm applying it to a wider context.